I'm at Golden Gate Fields Racetrack today, and this time next week on June 9, Golden Gate Fields will have its last live racing, um, and then it'll shut its doors for good. Um, Racing has been conducted here at this historic track since 1941, and this time last year, just to show you, goes to show you in terms of like the situation in the sporting world in the Bay Area. Um, in June, basically the end of June or July was the end of the Pac-12 as we know it, because they couldn't get a TV deal, and for those who are alums of Stanford and Cal, a Cal alum, Pac-12 football was facing its biggest uncertainty, and I think the most biggest uncertainty was the program for Cal and Stanford. Um, this time around July last year, it was announced that Golden Gate Fields was closing its doors forever, and it was supposed to close its doors in December of last year. Eventually, they got a reprieve to extend racing until June of this year, and yeah, it's kind of saddened. Yeah, I was at Bay Meadows in 2008 when it closed, so this kind of brings back memories, kind of sad memories, but memories about that occasion. So I'm not here to bet today. Um, Usually when I make horse racing bets, I talk in detail about the types of bets I make, especially the Golden Hour Pick 4. So this is not that type of video. Um, Usually when I have an analysis of those bets, I have things sort of prepared. This is going to be speaking on the cuff. Um, so, so how did we get here? How did Golden Gate Fields end up closing? Even though um, last year was announced that it was closing, I think there were steps or events, I should say, that actually led to the eventual closing of Golden Gate Fields. And the first had to do with its surface, Tapeta, which is a synthetic racetrack. I do believe in terms of the welfare and safety of horses, and but I don't think that Tapeta was actually the answer, because Tapeta is a surface that's not a natural surface. It's not dirt, and nor it's grass. It's sort of like field turf in like NFL football. The problem is that even though it's supposed to be safe for horses, it's actually a tiring surface, and so it takes horses longer to recover running on Tapeta than it does on, let's say, running on dirt, because it's a tiring surface. So in terms of betting, it also affects the number of horses. Um, Southern California went to a synthetic racetrack about 14 years ago this time, but they decided to take away the synthetics and go back to dirt. And with that, they did have a bigger increased field, but the problem was Golden Gate Field decided to keep the Tapeta. This resulted in the entries of about 5 to 6 horses per race on when they're racing on Tapeta. Um, so there was a disconnect between Southern California and Northern California track in such like Golden Gate Fields. If Golden Gate Fields was running Tapeta with small fields, and then the Southern California tracks were running with bigger fields, it didn't help that one racetrack was running on synthetic while the other ones were running on dirt. Had Golden Gate Fields changed its surface back to dirt, you would get more horses, I believe, from Southern California, where that would result in entries of maybe around 7 to 9 horses instead of the 5 or 6 horses that you normally see at Golden Gate Fields. So that's one aspect of the Tapeta. In addition, one historic race of Golden Gate Fields, and you can link this with Bay Meadows, is the El Camino Real Derby, which is a Kentucky Derby prep race. This race has produced a Kentucky Derby winner in Charismatic, um, and a Belmont Stakes winner in Tabasco Cat. But of all the Triple Crown races, the El Camino Real Derby was really a Preakness Stakes prep race, because I believe there's been 6 Preakness Stakes winners from the El Camino Real Derby. And the last one was Rombauer in 2021. Prior to that, was in 1999 with Charismatic. And what was the constant in terms of that gap? Yeah, Tepeta. It really is. I'm just telling you this is from a racing betting standpoint, because if horses are running in Tepeta, it would take them a long time to recover before running in dirt races. It's not a coincidence that from 1999, when Charismatic was going to his Triple Crown campaign, to 2021 with Rombauer winning the Preakness, that from my observation there were no horses in any of the Triple Crown races. And because after running the El Camino on Tepeta, they would recover. It would take them a long time to recover. So I do believe in safety of horses. In terms of, I think they're overbreeding. I think stands with big books, too much inbreeding, and also a focus on speed. I get that, but Tepeta wasn't the solution in terms of the safety of the horses, because there were also horses who had fatal accidents on synthetic tracks at Southern California. So it wasn't Tepeta. But yeah, it shows you why Tepeta actually started the seeds of the closure of Golden Gate Fields. I think one thing I'm going to miss about the Golden Gate Fields is this great view that we have of San Francisco and the Bay Bridge. The second, in terms of why I think there's a closure of Golden Gate Fields, is the item has to do with COVID. I know 2020, it basically all the racing fans could not in Golden Gate Fields were not allowed to watch live racing, and for a sport that's predicated on gaming, that's just, I understand the safety of people, because 2020 we didn't know how to deal with the pandemic. Yeah, and during that time, I would actually go to San Mateo, where a parimutuel facility where BMS used to be, and where I would bet races. Over there, everybody had to wear a mask, and we had to be like 6 feet apart. And that was 2020. I think the concern was in 2021 was like there was no really a transition in terms of opening attendance to watch live racing. As you can see from here, this racetrack, it's an outdoor facility. So if there was concern about social distancing, it's an outdoor racetrack. And I think in 2021, I can't blame this on the racetrack. I do blame this on city officials, state legislators, just being so overly cautious and not understanding that, after the previous year when everybody was just secluded, that people need an outlet, and people didn't die because of interaction or anything like that. I'm not trying to be like this anti-vax, because I'm fully vaccinated. It's just that people died because, in terms of our healthcare, and that's a different issue. Our coverage, but that's a different issue. I think in 2021, not having the opportunity to transition of opening live racing where people could attend, and in 2021, Rombauer won the El Camino Real Derby, and I remember that time it was still not open. I think from what I recall, the first time it opened for fans to come to Golden Gate Fields was the Belmont Stakes, and that's when I came in June 2021 to bet on Rombauer on the Belmont Stakes. I think he finished third in that race. But so yeah, so the early parts of 2021, it didn't help that nobody was able to even watch this race or watch races at an outdoor facility. So yeah, that was one a big attribute. But 2021 also unfortunately marked the death of Sam Spear. So Sam Spear is I would say he's the ambassador to Bay Area racing, because I remember growing up watching in Channel 26. He would do recaps of races at Bay Meadows, and then on Sundays on, I believe, KNBR, he would do radio shows regarding the races in Golden Gate Fields. I've never met Sam Spears at Golden Gate Fields. I've encountered him, but in terms of speaking to him, no. But just to have him be that face and voice, and the enthusiastic energy that he had for racing, I think he was that face for Bay Area racing. And when he passed away, you could just kind of feel that glue that Golden Gate Fields had. It was gone. And so yeah, I think that's the third reason why Golden Gate Fields is closing. The fourth has to do with I'll say it has to do with the Stronach Group, who owns Golden Gate Fields. So last year, Golden Gate Fields was announced was going to be closed because the Stronach Group, who owns Golden Gate Fields and Santa Anita, wanted to open racing at San Luis Race Downs. It never made sense. In fact, the whole Stronach Group is in terms of owning racetracks is troubling. Frank Stronach, as a breeder and as a race horner, was great for the sport. But owning racetracks is a totally different animal, in a sense, because now you're dealing with racing and breeding, you're now dealing with hospitality, and how you treat people or your customers, it is vital in the gaming industry. I remember it was announced that a couple years ago, that the Stronach Group wanted to have racing at Dixon, California, and it shows a huge not understanding the whole environment of Northern California racing in terms of gaming, because majority of the bettors are actually either go to Golden Gate Fields to bet, or they go to San Mateo at the Parimutuel facility to bet racing. Dixon, I drove there once, just passed by. It's like a 2-hour drive away from this area. So you're expecting those from Stockton or Sacramento to come to the racetrack? No, it never made sense. And then alienate the fans here in the Bay Area. There's been rumblings for the Stronach Group with their ownership of Gulfstream Park, and there's also a rumor, and this is a rumor, I've heard that San Luis Reyes might potentially be sold off for commercial real estate or development. So their reasoning to close Golden Gate Fields to have racing at San Luis Reyes Downs is a total lie in my view. I mean, and I know I'm just rambling, as like most racing fans here in Northern California, but it's like, I remember a couple years ago, it's like this racetrack was almost closed down because with the potential site for Lawrence Lab, but they decided to go a different site. But with the Stronach Group, it's like, my feeling with the Stronach Group is, in terms of how their ownership of racetracks, they've been hemorrhaging. And I think right now, what I mentioned about the number of entries in the racetrack fields in Golden Gate has been about 5 or 6, has been dwindling. As a handicapper, we're seeing it too at Santa Anita Racetrack. So I don't know what the future is going to be in racing in California in general, because they're hemorrhaging. You could feel it, and you could see it. Gulfstream Park, a lot of fans say it's not the same. Santa Anita's entries have been starting to dwindle. And remember, they made a threat too, the Stronach Group, about closing down Santa Anita because people in Northern California wanted to have racing at Dublin, and it's like, or at Pleasant, I should say. And it's like, if you really care about racing, you wouldn't try to make threats like that. So I don't think they're in it. I don't think they're in it for racing. It's just they're in it for themselves. You could say that they have every right to do with their business because they own it, but at what cost? To first your workers and then to the fans who are actually putting money into into each bet. So yeah, I know I'm just rambling here and stuff like that, but it's a great day here, and I just want to just get everything off my chest at the moment, because this time next week it's closed for good. So what does it mean for racing in California? I mean, I don't know. In the future, I mean, I think just like with Cal football, racing in Northern California is on a survival mode, and I hear about resurgence in Northern California breeding, but it hasn't really helped in terms of preventing the closure of Golden Gate Fields. And I don't, like I said, everybody's not sure how everything's going to play out, because racing now will be at Pleasanton at the fairgrounds. So here's the background about the Pleasanton Fairgrounds. It's considered the third oldest racetrack in the country. I believe it was opened in 1854, so just right before the Civil War. I've been to the fairgrounds and Pleasanton for this Alameda County Fair to bet races. So here's my insights in terms of how racing will survive not only survive but also enhance in the fairgrounds. First, they cannot go to use Tepeta. That is rule number one, because I've seen it what happened to Golden Gate Fields. You have less entries, and because the horses from Southern California wouldn't be willing to travel up north. So first, keep it at dirt, no Tepeta. You want to get bigger entries in your races for dirt, keep it dirt. Two, have a turf course, grass racing, because during the county fairs, there was no grass racing at the fairgrounds because there was no turf course. The only turf betting you could do for a county fair was in the fairgrounds in Santa Rosa. But for the fairgrounds at Pleasanton, they had no turf racing. So those are two things. One, for racing to survive and enhance in Northern California, dirt racing, no synthetic, and two, grass racing. That's vital. I think if they do that, I think you might have opportunity to have bigger fields in each race. So we'll see from there. But yeah, I mean, in terms of the sporting venue, in terms of the Bay Area, in the East Bay, you just gotta look at what it was 10 years ago. I believe sports is just sports is part of history. It's part of our soul. It tells a story about the city and its people, and you could see it in terms of the Bay Area and the East Bay, especially in Oakland. What's been happening? Let's think about it. 10 years ago, 10 years ago, the Warriors were going to start their season, ended up winning the NBA Finals. The A's were in the wild card. The Oakland Raiders were playing the Coliseum. 2019. Okay, 5 years later, what happened? Okay, the Golden State Warriors moved from Oakland to Chase Center, San Francisco. 2020, Raiders moved to Las Vegas, and now the A's, well, they're playing in. So this is the last season in Oakland. So next season they're probably playing Sacramento. I don't know how the whole Las Vegas thing is going to happen, because from all we've heard is Las Vegas is not happy to have the A's there. So But with that being said, I don't know how the sporting is going to how the sporting life is going to prevail in the East Bay. I mean, it's something hard to grasp, because I think sports, it provides us people to get out and not be so be so into the social media. Get out, man. Enjoy. What did COVID teach us? Enjoy life. And it's unfortunate with all the Bay Area teams, in terms of the east side of the Bay leaving the area. It feels like very I'll use a horse racing term, like East Bay, like the East Bay sporting scene. It's been castrated. So that's what it feels like. It's like a gelding, and they can't produce. So like I said, I don't know what's going to happen in terms of what the sporting is going to be, and what the racing is going to be in Northern California. I'm hoping that the El Camino would run that in Pleasanton. Who knows? There might be, if they continue on dirt racing, there might be a candidate who might be a viable candidate to win, the Kentucky Derby. Endlessly, I bet him on the Derby. He finished 9th, but yeah, who knows? If they continue the El Camino Real Derby at Pleasanton, who knows? Maybe one of the horses there who in that race could eventually win one of the Triple Crown races. But I don't know. Everybody here, we're not sure, because this time last year, I mean, if you're Pac-12, love Pac-12 football, it's gone now. Officially, it'll be gone June 30, but yeah, it's gone. And so, with Cal and Stanford, their football programs, they're on survival mode. Same thing as the racing here in Northern California. So, and I think another issue I want to bring up is, I know I'm here at the parking lot of Golden Gate Fields, but I remember when the San Francisco 49ers moved to Levi Stadium, and that whole Candlestick Park, there was a promise that there was supposed to be some business development. Never happened. And if people who go to Candlestick Point, or that area where the San Francisco 49ers used to play at, that field is just dirt. And I know this is supposed to be, they're thinking about converting this to a sort of, let's say, commercial, whatever, it's like housing or maybe some development. I mean, Emeryville is not so far away. Emeryville already has some businesses, but they're going to build another housing here. It's like, really? For what? You see all these suburbs building these structures for housing, and it's just really like an empty building. So I mean, I know this is prime real estate, because if you can look at the view right here, it's a beautiful view. But yeah, I mean, really, I don't know. It's just I'm uncertain, especially given with the high inflation rate. So yeah, and then I think when it comes to racing, it's like, see, the thing about when Golden Gate Field's closure, one thing that is the industry that really is going to be suffered is agriculture. And when we think of California, we think of tech, we think of Hollywood, and winery, but agriculture is the biggest. California's agriculture is the biggest in the country, and one thing that makes California's economy the largest economy in the world is that it's its diversity. And then diversity doesn't mean in terms of race or sex. Diversity means in terms of different, different products or resources. Agriculture, we have the winery. In terms of agriculture in California is also produce. Agriculture in California is also horse racing, because it's horse race. It's these farms that actually produce horses, run on these racetracks. And so with the closure of Golden Gate Fields, I don't know what the future entails for the Northern California farms, such as like Victory Rose, which is in the wine country, or Daling Ranch, which is I believe in Elk Grove. So I don't know how these farms are going to survive. So, and I know it was a Hail Mary pass, but I sent email or to State Senator Nancy Skinner, State Assemblymember Mia Bonta, U.S. Congresswoman Barbara Lee, and the 2 U.S. Senators about why Golden Gate Fields needs to continue racing because of agriculture. That's the main thing I sent to them. So normally I don't send emails to my elected officials, but I might as well give it a shot. So actually to more voice my opinion. So lastly, I want to leave off. I know it's been 25 minutes, and I'm going to head to inside the Golden Gate Fields because the first race will start in 1:15. The time I'm recording is now 12:55, so I want to be there. I'm trying to see if I could record every race. I'm not going to bet, so I want to record every race and maybe post it. But I was at BMWs in 2008. Very last day I did the same thing. The day before I bet, I made money. On the last day of BMWs, I decided to say I'm just going to enjoy racing. And today, that's just it. Today I'm not betting. I'm just going to enjoy racing. I'll be here at Golden Gate Fields one last time to bet on the Belmont Stakes. It would have been fitting. It would have been great if Mystic Dan did win the Preakness Stakes, but in terms of for the birth of the Triple Crown, it did happen. But you see all these people here today. It's like I think they're realizing, that end of an era of racing. This racetrack opened in 1941, and I said I was there at Golden Gate Field. I was there at Bay Meadows in 2008 when it closed. When Bay Meadows closed in 2008, it was on the San Mateo County Fair. It's unfortunate it wasn't closed on a regular racing day. I think during that time, the regular racing day would have closed on Mother's Day in 2008. So I think the reason why they didn't want to close on that time is at least let's find another way to close it. But I think so that's why they closed it on the last day of the San Mateo County Fair. And I remember the San Mateo County Fair was much more lively than the the Alameda County Fair. But that was in the past. But yeah, I'm here. You see, there's people here. There's a line outside. So I'm here to enjoy it. Life is short. You can't just complain about things about life. I respect people's views in terms of people don't like racing because of the cruelty of the animal, but yeah, my view is that it's okay. It's one thing to fight for your cause, and I believe that you fight for your cause, but you also have to enjoy life. If the only thing you're concerned is about fighting for a cause, not enjoying life, what's there a cause to fight for? So I think it was a great idea that Golden Gate Fields decided to close on a racing schedule, normal racing schedule, and that normal racing schedule will end on the last race of the Triple Crown, the Belmont Stakes. So the very last day will be June 9, and that'll be Secretariat's 51st Triple Crown anniversary. I won't be there that day. I'll be at my nephew's high school graduation party, but I am taking him the day before on a Saturday to this racetrack as my graduation gift. And when you see the people outside, one thing I want to end is enjoy life, have fun, and for those who love racing, bring your family. Whether it's today, I know they have racing on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. If you have an opportunity, do it. And it's it's going to be sad when this place goes. But, and I'll end this right now because it's almost 30 minutes, this video. I'll say this right now, is that history, in terms of provides a footnote, but it also provides memories. And that's the one thing. It's yes, Golden Gate, Bay Meadows was gone, but still not forgotten for those who actually remember the racetrack. What I remember about Golden Gate Fields is it was the venue to watch racing since Bay Meadows closed. I never got to see Rombauer run here, but I did see Lost in the Fog, Eclipse Award winner. I think also one thing I'll say is with the Golden Gate Fields, it actually made me a better handicapper, because I mentioned about my Golden Gate pick 4. During this last racing season, there's 3 occasions where, and it wasn't the Golden Hour pick 4, that I won over 1,000 3 times. August, the Traverse Stakes, this September when before Cal Auburn played for football. I got the early pick 5, and then another pick 4 I believe I got the following spring. The Golden Hour pick 4 has been my favorite because it's where I've been making money, and actually the first time I made over $2,000 was the Golden Hour pick 4. But yeah, you see all the people here outside, just if you have an opportunity to come here, do it. And I think that's one thing I've noticed when I've come here is the last few days, it's like this is the last dance, but people here are having fun, because I think you look at it right here. Right, those are people who are having fun in life. They're not. I know we have problems in the world and there's causes to fight for, but look at this. It's like, life is short. You only have one life. So this won't be the final video for me about Golden Gate Fields, because I will be here next week. But I just wanted to say, give my feelings about it, and you have the opportunity, come to the Belmont Stakes, to watch here. It's just like, and at least it's going on a great note. I mean, a sad note, but at least, be here. And it's like, because everything in the sporting world in the Bay Area is gone. I mean, make this one last thing before everything in the Bay Area and the East Bay is almost non-existent. But yeah, just have fun and make money in the racetrack. But yeah, but that's my my feelings about today. But yeah, I'm going to go inside, just eat, drink, have fun, and then next week will be the final time, and that's when I'll make my final video on Golden Gate Fields.